So data migration is a pretty common use case where you have a data in a particular model and now you would want to change it. You want to evolve it. Let's say add a new column, remove a column, or change a single entity into an array, etc., etc. Now this is something that is pretty common, but how do we do it without having any downtime? And you would want to do a massive data migration. So how do we pull this off? Now, in this video, we'll dissect a blog from Stripe on how they pulled off one of their online migrations at scale. And we'll dig deeper into nuances of implementation. This is something that you can pick and apply at your workplace as well. It's pretty interesting approach on how it needs to be done. Almost standard, but let's go into nuances on how they did it. So your data model evolves, and this essentially happens because of two reasons. One is you want cleaner abstractions. Like for example, you started with something as a data model and it evolved into something. So you don't want it to become very messy. So that's why you might want to take a much cleaner approach, making it easy for you to extend later. Second reason is your requirements have evolved, or if not, you're building a more complex feature on top of an existing one. So which is where you would need your data models to evolve. Now, doing this is, let's say if you're using a SQL database, it's like running an alter query, right? But when you run it, the magic or the most interesting things happen when you would want to make sure that while this is happening, you would want to do it with consistency, which means data can never go into an inconsistent or an incorrect state. And your system should remain available no matter what. Now, when you try to do a massive online migration, when you want to guarantee consistency and availability, that's where things become interesting. Now, to throw some numbers, let's say you would want to, in this case, like these are numbers taken exactly from Stripe's blog. Hypothetically, as you would want to migrate 100 million subscription objects of Stripe, right? From one schema to another schema. In that case, if you consider, even if it requires you to, when you're transforming the object, it requires you to take just 1 second to read the object, transform it, and write it to one place, which is do migration of it. Right? In that case, even if you take 1 second for one object, doing it sequentially would require you 100 million seconds, which is equal to 3 years of your time. Your migration cannot go for this long. Right? Second, of course, requirement being uptime and accuracy that you have to do. Now, this is where Stripe took a very standard approach to do it, which is dual writing. In case you're unaware, we'll dig deeper into how it's done. So, dual writing is one of the most common ways to do online schema migrations. Now, it constitutes of 4 very simple steps. Again, from a 10,000 feet view, simple, nuances are very interesting there. So, we'll dig deeper. So, step number 1 is where you have your old table, you have your new table, and what you do is you do a dual write. So you write at both the places in table 1 and table 2. So this way your newer changes have started going to table 2, which is your new table. Now while you're doing this, you of course migrate your old data, then you have your new table. Step 2 is you change your read paths. So because your writes were going at both the places, now you can flip your reads to read from the new table. Step 3, now that you're confident that your reads are working fine, you move your write paths to the new table. And step 4, now that your reads and writes both have moved to new table, you can delete your data from the old table. Right? Now, if it's that simple, what was this Stripe migration all about? Like, why was it complex? Let's dig deeper. Now, we'll take a concrete example. Again, all of this is taken from Stripe's blog. I've linked it in the description down below. Now, so what they were trying to do is initially when Stripe started, they assumed that one customer would have one subscription. So their model typically looked like this, where you had a customer object, in that nested was a subscription object. So Stripe uses MongoDB, or they use DocDB, which is built on top of MongoDB. And they initially had a customer within which one subscription, but then the requirements evolved and it turns out that a customer can have multiple active subscriptions. So what they had as a single mapping, from mapping in the sense within the customer object, they had a nested subscription object. Now they needed an array of subscription. Now, of course, this can be as many subscriptions as customers like. This is where the migration had to take place. So storing active subscriptions separately is what a call that they took. Like rather than having this where you have customer and subscriptions, they would want to have a separate collection for customers and separate collection for server subscriptions, making their life easier. Now, how did the migration happen? 4-step process. We'll go into nuances of it. So migration step number 1, you do dual writes. Again, classic. What they did is they did set up a dual write where the write went to old as well as new, but here without affecting your transactional latency, which means imagine if you're writing at two places, your write times have literally doubled. You don't want that to happen. So the writes used to go to old and asynchronously used to propagate to the new one. Right? So that is one. So all the newer changes have started going to all the newer changes started going to the new collection, and this way we made sure, or the Stripe made sure, that the newer changes are available for reads, and they have a backfill job that pulls in old data and moves it to new. Easy to say, what's the risk? Right? So the risk is you want to backfill old subscription data from old schema to new schema or old collection to new collection. The key thing for you to do this migration is you need to know what needs to be migrated. Right? Now, one of the things to do is, okay, yeah, I'll just write a query, iterate through, let's say I know I started my migration at time equal to t. So all the subscriptions that has happened before that or updated before that, I'll copy it to the new one. Now, think about this. When you're doing this, you have to fire the query, like give me subscription objects that have happened n minutes or before t in a paginated fashion. Now this is where it becomes interesting, because now you're firing too many paginated calls on your production DB, which is this one, your old table, right? And that is risky, yes, and it can have a performance impact, problems on both sides, right? So this is where the approach that they took is, of course, to not affect your production traffic, but rather do it on a snapshot of a database. So what they did is, of course, doing it in sequential fashion. We saw the calculation, how slow it can get. So they had to do in a distributed fashion, which means they use classic map reduce workers. So they had an old table, old collection, took a snapshot. Now you have old snapshot. On this snapshot, run a simple map reduce job, which essentially iterates through it and figures out what all needs to be moved in a distributed fashion. Query, query, query. Now your main traffic does not get affected. All the read load is going to old snapshot for this backfill job. And from here, it does the transformation and copies it to the new collection. Right? Now, this is what they did in a distributed fashion, making it easier to migrate from old collection to new collection. Okay. Now, when this is moved, one of the key things to make sure is that no data is missed, that is needs to be ensured. So once this job was completed, they went and iterated and checked that no data is left, and it's like proper, fully stable movement that has happened of the data. Now, next part, which is step number 2. Now that you have your data backfilled, number 1, new changes are going to new collection, number 2, both of them are sorted. That was step 1. Now step 2, you have to change the read path. It's very simple. You have to change your read path from one to another. Again, requires code change, but the idea is to let your read, like from your code places, identify where your reads are going and let that read go to your newer instance rather than old instance. But one thing to note is when you're reading, you would not just blindly trust that everything is working fine. So which is where what you have to do is, or what Stripe also did, is to compare that what if the read would have gone to old and the read has gone to new, is there a mismatch in the data? If there is mismatch in the data, raise an alert. That is super crucial, because that is what guarantees that your movement is seamless. Otherwise, the movement is not seamless. You might be serving inconsistent data to the user. User experience would be affected. A lot of customer tickets would raise. The trust on the system would lose. That's why it's very important when you're doing data migration to make sure you still have some shadow mode enabled, which essentially reads from the old path, reads from the new path, does the comparison difference, raise an alert. Great. Now, once all of this was acknowledged and all of this was made sure that reads are moved reads are consistent with old and new approach, then comes step number 3, which is changing of write path. Now, changing of write path essentially, because what they did is initially the writes were going to old and asynchronously propagated to new. Now this needs to change to write going to the new and asynchronously propagated to old. You'll be like, why old? Like, it's just now I'll move it to the new one and I'm done. The whole point is, due to any reason, if Stripe had to revert back to the old one, and if old does not have data, problem. So here, having plan Bs is essential when you're doing a big data migration. That what if this does not work out? Do you have a way to revert back to the old state of your system seamlessly? That is where your path that used to go to old and asynchronously to new changes to new asynchronously propagated to old. This is very crucial. Now you see why data migrations are not as easy as like running an alter table or running like just blindly trusting a system to do things. You have to be very like again at scale, it's all about having decent plan Bs and even plan Bs for plan Bs. Right? Okay, so first thing first, when this needs to be done, your code changes, of course, spans thousands of lines of code. So they had to figure it out. And that, of course, takes a lot of time to make sure that no write path or no code path is missing. Second, more importantly, the changes that they're making to the code base are not complex. So abstracting out the code, like modularizing the code in the right way, making sure that the changes are simple enough for people to understand and people to make, instilling high confidence and having a way to roll back. That is very important, because if any of this thing misses, then the risk is data inconsistency. And for a financial system like Stripe, this cannot be the case, that your data can never go into an inconsistent state. And hence, this verification, again, it seems slow. It was slow, of course, but it's super important. And then once that is done, step 3 is done, which is write path movement is done, all validated. Step 4 is what? Removing old data. Removing old data. Also, you cannot just go ahead and delete the old data. Right? You have to first make sure that the code changes are there, configuration changes are there. It's all done and dusted, 100% traffic not going to old from your transactional system, and then you trigger your data deletion. Right? Because otherwise you think you have migrated, but there is this one stray line of code making changes or some config lying here or there. And if that database is, you have essentially taken it down, let's say it was a different cluster, you took it down, database connection not getting set up, server stopped starting, problem. Hence, making sure that there are no stray leaked connections to database connection strings, anything from your core transactional side to the system is not there. And then you do the data deletion. So this is how Stripe does online data migration, migrating data from one collection to another collection without having any downtime and without having any data inconsistency. You saw how easy it looked at first, but the kind of nuances that you have to deal with when you're doing this migration, more importantly around data correctness and data integrity, is paramount. Right? So yeah, this is all what I wanted to cover in this one. I hope you found it interesting. Hope you found it amusing. That's it for this one. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a ton.